Over the years, I, Marky Billson, host of Tri-City Sports Now here on 1420 WEMB Sports Radio, have been a little critical of the Appalachian League for its mom and pop feel, and also, having maybe not the highest level of baseball that we could possibly have in the Tri-Cities. However, the Elizabethton Twins have just hired a general manager that I think shatters the mom and pop feel that maybe the Twins used to have. His name is Brice Ballentine. He comes from, now let me get this straight, the Mobile Bay Bears, where you've been in charge of ticketing and the like, as well as Boyd Sports. And you also studied sports marketing, and was it Iowa State?
Actually, so just communication studies at Iowa State. We don't have a sports marketing degree there.
Communication studies. Okay, so you can study me and say, okay, get the facts right, Billson, for that. But communication studies and all that. Maybe my first question ought to be, I used to attend the city council meetings when the Twins were, maybe in a precarious state, asking for money for the city for the renovations at Joe O'Brien Field. And I remember right before then, there would be someone asking for a beer permit, and you'd get a lot of locals saying, oh, we don't need another restaurant that would serve beer, not here in Elizabethton. I've heard about some of those parties at Iowa State now and all this. So let me ask you this. What's the transition for you to come from, let's say, beach town, let's say Iowa, where they are known to indulge a little bit on the Iowa State campus, to, the Bible Belt in small town East Tennessee? What's the cultural transition like for you, Brice?
There's a little bit of transition as far as, beer is a thing for us. And you have a lot of people here that, there's a lot of people here that are for beer. I mean, we studied the market. There's definitely a market for beer here. But as far as, there's a lot of people that are against it, which is okay. That's their prerogative. The way I always try to see things is, why not have both? You can, I have friends that don't drink beer.
Sure.
And, we're able to hang out and go to baseball games together, and, we also have a good time. But, it has a little bit of transition because, coming from a bigger market and, and growing up in a bigger market too, sometimes you see, you don't realize that, hey, there are some of these small towns that are thriving, but they still have the thinking, that they don't want alcohol, which is okay, and that's up to them.
Well,
so, there's also a market for both.
Well, let me ask you this here. Now, things are changing, I know, with Boyd Sports, with the Elizabethton Twins. To some ways, I think that's good. For instance, I used to call the front office of the Elizabethton Twins, and what would happen is I'd have to leave an answering machine message with the Parks and Recs department of Elizabethton that would never get returned. And I used to think, this is the way to run a professional sports franchise? See where I'm going with that sort of mom and pop thing. Well, Boyd Sports comes in, and although I am a little bit wary of 4 of the 5 pro sports franchises in upper Northeast Tennessee being run by Boyd and a possible monopoly, Brice, I do understand that things have been a little bit more professionally run. Among them, yes, a bar at Cardinal Park that has really taken off and helped improve ticket sales in Johnson City. Is that something you're going to bring to Elizabethton?
Yeah, we actually do have beer this year. So we actually will have 2 points of sale. We'll be serving beer. They're away from our main concession stands. That way, if you want to get a beer, you have to go to that stand. You can't get it from the main stand. And that's one of the things we are doing here. We want to bring in the people that want to have a beer with their hot dog or a hamburger. We also want your traditional baseball fans that just want to go just for the baseball games. We're doing a little bit of everything. Kind of want to make it a fan-friendly and family-friendly atmosphere for our fans here.
We're talking to Brice Ballentine. When you say family-friendly, I know that a lot of times, I remember going to a Greenville Braves game, that dates me, and they had a non-alcohol section. Is that what's going to happen at Joe O'Brien Field?
Not this year. It's one of those things where right now, because we only have 2 sections, we have general admission,
sure,
and we have the reserve seats. So we're going to see how it runs. If it's one of those things where we think that we need to have an alcohol-free section, yeah, we'll do that. But right now, we're going to test the waters without one and see how it goes. And if there's a lot of fans that are say, hey, we alcohol-free section, we'll definitely take a look. This is a learning experience for us. It's our first year here. So we want some of that fan feedback because we want to know how we make, fan experience better because obviously, the fans are going to tell us what they want.
Well, we're talking to Brice Ballentine, the new general manager of the Elizabethton Twins. One of the things about Joe O'Brien Field when it was renovated, and one of the needs they said were obstructed view seats. Have those obstructed view seats been rectified? Are there now no longer any obstructed view seats at Joe O'Brien Field?
As of right now, the Senior Bowl is the same as last season.
Okay.
And the reason is part of that is just timing of when we actually took over the team. We took over the team late February.
Mm-hmm.
So to get everything, to do a major renovation, it's just not enough time at that point. So we're going to run everything the first year, and then, year two, we'll start thinking about, hey, what can we do as far as, maybe potentially a renovation here, what we can do to help those seats and everything.
Now, you heard how I brought this on, and everybody who knows this show will tell you that, I've often thought, it's time for the Tri-Cities to start thinking bigger and not so, small town and all this. And I've theorized, what about a AA franchise or, a new arena that would have pro sports teams like the ECHL or something like that in the Tri-Cities? I think the market is big enough to absorb it. But the one thing I will say about the Elizabethton Twins is that it's good for Elizabethton to have Elizabethton on the back of the baseball card, for kids growing up. Suddenly they know where this town of 12,000 people are. If you live in Minneapolis in Tennessee, that you would otherwise not know. It's that sort of publicity. It's not the Minnesota Twins, but how many towns of this size have a pro sports franchise? With that being said, look, we talked a little bit about that this morning when we had a small conversation. It's not that practical to draw from Johnson City, I wouldn't think, because you've got the Cardinals there, unless, they're visiting. You got to split some of what I would say your territory with the Bristol Pirates. Is it in the cards for the Twins to ever really be able to compete in terms of attendance with, let's say, the Johnson City Cardinals of the world?
Oh, 100%.
Okay, where are you getting the fans from then?
So the nice thing is, I've actually been in multiple markets where you end up kind of sharing a market.
Okay.
Now, so you will get fans from Johnson City, especially when the Cardinals are in town. We played them 10 times at home this year.
Sure. It's not uncommon to have a 2-game series home and home. Yeah, go ahead.
Correct, and vice versa. So, yes, we will get, and, I know our fans are loyal, and they travel to Johnson City. So, I think with you're going to see happening a lot is there's going to be a lot of overlap. And that's going to happen with Bristol as well, because Bristol's right there. So I think, with Elizabethton, actually, we can draw well from Elizabethton, and we'll draw well from the surrounding, Blounteville and, Butler and,
Butler, Butler would be one. I know he's new in there, but Butler, Hampton, etc. Blountville is in Sullivan County. I got to tell you that. But but go ahead.
But in Blounteville, we actually have a few fans, a few tables from there as well. So, we're starting to expand. We're focusing right now on Elizabethton, and then we'll start to go out a little bit more as we get closer to the season. And we're actually doing this thing now with our ticketing system. And for the first time, we can actually sell tickets online. They weren't doing that before.
Sure.
We can actually see where our fans are coming from too. If they buy a ticket online or they use our ticketing system.
So if someone is wanting to come in from California to see their sons play, you see that, but also you see if it's just from across the street and, I'm from Bemberg Avenue or Elk Avenue or wherever you're talking about in Elizabethton.
Yes, exactly.
Brice Ballentine is the general manager of the Elizabethton Twins, and I'm going to have to ask just one more question. Are you aware right now, with the season only a few days away, who some of the players will be for the Twins this year? That's always a late announcement, and that's one of the things I think that actually draws back some of the interest in the Appalachian League. Do you know any of the players? Have they been assigned yet to Elizabethton?
Unfortunately, not. I don't know. I know our coaching staff's going to be, but
Yeah, Ray Smith as always, and so yeah, sure, I get that. Yeah.
Yeah, but the players have not been given an official roster yet. The Twins are always, they're still part of the thing. They got split the teams right now between GCL, and it's always that weird, funny time of the year too, because we are rookie ball. We know we're getting some players late. We should have sent some players late to you because they're playing for the College World Series in their respective divisions, Division 2 or D1 or D3, because they can't sign without losing their amateur status.
Mm-hmm. No, yes.
Now the players will be here, season started on Tuesday, they should be here Sunday, ready to practice and everything. And so as well as a situation where we'll probably know the 15th, we'll have an official roster, hopefully.
That would be a step above. I know last year I was reading, we're still getting some ball players here when the season had begun from the newspaper stories with Ray Smith and such. Anyway, he's new in town. Brice Ballentine, new general manager of the Elizabethton Twins, and it's part of Boyd Sports and how they're trying to run the Appalachian League a little more professionally, which I do applaud. So welcome to the area, Brice Ballentine. I want to wish you good luck for the Twins, and let's not be a stranger either. Of course, the Twins usually do have that advantage, and that's why they haven't had a losing season since the 80s, in that basically the way the Twins weight their franchises in their minor league system, the Elizabethton Twins, it's essentially a New York Penn League team playing in the Appalachian League, and that's why they always win. And so that's why there's always something to talk about with the Elizabethton Twins. Will there be enough to talk about with the Tri-Cities Otters? I think so. I'm going to talk to their coach and owner, David Strickland, coming up after this.
Asian house. Home of the happy bus.
How's that?